If you are getting divorced in New York, you might be wondering, how long is this process going to take? So the answer is it depends. Everybody's going to tell you it depends. Now, if a couple were to come to my office and say, hey, we worked everything out, we have an agreement, we want to get divorced today, what I could tell you is that unfortunately, because we need to involve the court, only a judge in the state of New York can grant you your divorce. We do need to prepare certain paperwork and submit it to the court for review by a judge so that they can rubber stamp it. Now, even that process, even if you came into me today and said we have everything worked out and I was able to miraculously draft everything today as well, it still is going to take several months for our court to sign off on it, particularly if you are downstate New York and Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, Manhattan. The courts are very delayed. There's a lot of submissions to the court. However, there may be some exceptions to the rule, and we would have to speak with you about those particular issues to see if it might apply to you, where we might be able to file in a different place that might process the paperwork more quickly. But generally speaking, you're looking at several months. And certainly if you don't have a situation where you and your partner agree, now we need to work through and figure out, okay, how are we going to resolve all these issues that we don't agree upon? That can take several weeks or months, and for some couples, even years to resolve. The judge can't review any paperwork or sign off on them until they're resolved. So judges in New York, when they're presented with the question of custody and how to assign custody for the children of the marriage, they look at the best interests of the children. Doing that, they need to look at, totality of the circumstances. Who are these two parents? Who is the one being the primary caretaker involved with the child's life from the beginning when they were born, taking them to schools, doctor's appointments, and whatnot. In addition, the courts want to look at keeping and maintaining stability and familiarity for the child. They don't want to disrupt the child's life too much. It's already going to be disrupted with the parents no longer living together. So to determine the best interest of the child, the courts typically look at what happened during the marriage. So who was the primary caretaker of the child during the marriage? Who was waking the child up for school every day? Who was taking them to the doctor's appointments, picking them up after school, taking them for play dates and whatnot? Who was more involved parent throughout the marriage? Now, that doesn't mean to say that if you were the parent who was working a lot, that this isn't going to work out for you. In fact, I have a situation happening right now with another client where the primary caretaker that you would assume is a primary caretaker, unfortunately, they didn't behave in an appropriate way. And based upon that, we were able to present those facts to the judge who determined that parent was actually unfit to have the parent on a full-time basis. So now the parent that even though wasn't the primary caretaker necessarily, they have the child all the time, and the other parent has supervised visitation. So it's kind of the flip. My point is that just because you were not the primary caretaker during the marriage does not mean that your situation isn't going to be taken into consideration by a judge. A judge is going to evaluate all the information and the facts and make a decision, again, in the best interest of your child. When going through a divorce in New York, one of the first things that you'll be asked to produce are financial documents, because a big part of the divorce is equitable distribution of your assets. So there's a form that will be completed in the court that will show you a whole list of documents that you need to produce within the first 45 days. Those are typically your tax returns in the last 3 years, statements from your bank for checking, for savings, investments, retirement account, maybe even copies of life insurance policies, pension, and of course, copies of your pay stubs. So that's just to get started. And of course, once we take a look at your full financial picture, there may be additional documents that you might need to gather. For instance, if you own a business, we're going to want to see the business records as well. In order to get divorced in New York, you have to resolve the same 5 issues. Whether you decide to go the route of mediation or to lawyer up and go to court, you still have to resolve these same issues. Should you do mediation? Should you go to trial? That's really up to you and your partner and what you're both comfortable doing. Mediation is a way for both of you to be more involved with the outcome and decision making with respect to your divorce, as opposed to if you go to court, you go to trial, you're pleading your case to a complete stranger, the judge, who then is going to make a decision in your divorce as to the outcome of your divorce. My preference when it comes to divorces in New York, I would absolutely love to see every couple go through mediation rather than leaving all the decisions up to this complete stranger in court. They don't know you, you don't know them. You're leaving it up to the skill of your attorney to advocate your case. And there's just so much information that your attorney will be able to present to a judge to make decisions in your case. I really like mediation because who knows your marriage and your situation better than the two of you, right? You've been married for a while and you know the background, you know where things started, you know where things are right now, and you can bring all of that to the table when you're discussing and trying to resolve all these issues. It's also another way that you could stay in control of the outcome of your divorce, as opposed to leaving it up to the whim of a judge. Here, you and your partner, while you don't agree on a lot of things, when you work with the right professional, you can come to agreement on all of the issues in your divorce. If you have any additional questions about how long your divorce is going to take and how to divide up your assets, what to do with custody, whether you should try mediation or lawyer up and go to court, give Sabra Law Group a call. We'll be happy to talk you through it.